Welcome to the Third Space Podcast, brought to you by 1689 Cigars, the place where men come together to unwind, spark up a good cigar, pour a drink, and dive into conversation that matter most. Here we talk about business, family, current events, and everything in between, while enjoying the finer things in life. Whether you're a cigar aficionado or just here for the conversation, this is the space where ideas are sharpened, perspectives are challenged, and connections are made. So light up, pour a glass, and join us in the Third Space. Welcome to the Third Space Podcast. I'm here with our co-host, Ian and Christian. Today we're going to be talking about the New Year's resolution craze that is super gay. And we're also going to be talking about how these guys are gym rats.
Yeah,
For sure.
it's definitely something that has come about since March for me. Got tired of being fat, man.
Yeah. For me, it was because I wanted to join the Army.
Yeah.
And I was too fat to join the Army.
So does fat shaming work? I mean, that's a good question.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't know if it works for women. Maybe it does. But maybe it needs to come from other women. But definitely for
men?
For men?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's what motivates me. You know? It's like, I want you to call me a fat bastard. And I want you to say it to my face. That's how I want you to refer to me. And I'm going to be like, okay. And then I'll go to the gym.
One more rep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more mile.
No, I'm a firm believer in some bullying, so we probably need to bring it back a little bit.
there's this animator that I follow on YouTube. And it's called Flash Gits. I don't know if you've ever watched anything, but he's released a new series called Space King, and it's like a parody of Warhammer 40K. I love it; it's so good. But like one of the characters, he's like, "You're just a bully, hate monger," and he's like, "Yes."
I think especially for grown men, it works. If there's not something inside of you that wants to be strong and be agile and be able to defend yourself, then there's something seriously wrong with you.
I think who was it that said, it is a shame if a man cannot see the strength that his body can achieve. I'm going to find that quote.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It is a shame.
When you think about it, like we all are on X, we're all on Facebook, and you have these men that are always talking about revolution, and then you go look at their pages and they can't run a mile, and it's like you're in shape because you are defenders of your home, you're defenders of your nation. Like, this is how God has designed you, and so when you remove that responsibility or you abdicate it to, I live in a free state, I can be fat and shameless, and because it's what our culture promotes is like, I don't know if you ever pay attention to some of those memes of the Victoria's Secret models that are like morbidly obese.
Oh yeah,
and like fat is the new beautiful.
Yeah,
and everybody's like, no, it's not.
Yeah,
So it's like there's more than just being able to like protect yourself, especially if you have a family. It's like, I need to be able to be dangerous, and I hear Ian say that all the time as he's losing weight and getting back into it.
Yeah. Well, I think the quote that I'm looking for comes from Xenophon, who is a student of Socrates. And like Xenophon, if you look at classical antiquity,
Xenophobia.
Well, no, but yes. But Xenophon or Xenophon, I don't know how you pronounce it, but Xenophon, he wrote a book called the 10,000, and it was basically how an army of 10,000 Greeks went to fight for the Persian king in one of their civil wars, and then their employer got defeated. And so, like, it was two brothers, and they were fighting each other. And then the employer of Xenophon and his Greek army, that was called the 10,000, lost. And so now you have these 10,000 Greeks that are stranded thousands of miles from home.
Yeah.
And they just, they said, if we stay here, we're going to die. So the only thing we can is retreat back to the sea.
Right.
And so they did. It's just called the Retreat of the 10,000. And these 10,000 Greeks just stayed together, And, a lot of their leaders died because they were constantly being attacked by the Persian army. They were being chased by them, having to navigate like all the native tribes
Right.
and other nations in the area, having to trek through forbidden territory and harsh territory. Finally, they made it to the sea. Like, several of their leaders died in battle. Xenophon was like one of the last ones surviving who managed to take the army back. And so, like, he's, very, very tough guy. But one of the quote that I'm looking for that he said is, "It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I know your story's similar but distinct, Ian. But like mine personally was, I wanted to join the army,
Right.
and I couldn't because they were like, "You're too fat,"
Yeah.
Like, especially I wanted to join as an officer, and it's like the standards for officers are higher, which is as it should be.
Yeah.
So I mean I was close to the winter of 2021. I was almost 300 pounds.
Wow.
And it was 300 pounds of like fat, Like, I've always been big boned, and I've always been tall and strong. Like, I'm 6 foot, Like,
Yeah.
people always tell me you're like the biggest Asian I've ever seen, or whatever. The biggest East
It
Asian
is
I've ever
true.
seen. I'm like, so I've always been very, and that a lot of it is genetic. My uncle's 6'4". My great grandfather apparently was like 6'7".
Oh,
You
Yao
know?
Ming's in your lineage.
Yeah, well, yeah, come from the same area. So, a lot of it is genetic, but winter of like 2021, I was 300 pounds, and I weighed myself, and I was like shocked.
Yeah.
Part of it was like I was coming off of a period where I was very depressed. I wasn't healthy, mentally,
Mhm.
and that affected me physically. And then I wanted to join the army, and they were like, "Yeah, you're too fat." And so I was like, "Okay." They were like, "You need to lose at least like 50 pounds for us to even like consider you."
Yeah.
Because I'd thought about many different branches, and the army was the only one that would like even work with me. I talked to the Air Force, and they're like, "No, not at all. These are the standards." And I'm like, "Okay." So, and so I just started running, working out, watching what I was eating for a period of time. I did a lot of. I tried everything. I did intermittent fasting. I did OMAD, which is like one meal a day. It was like a good meal, but it was like one meal a day.
Yeah.
And I slowly lost the pounds. And then so this was like in, I want
How
to
long
say,
did it take?
it took me 6 months
Yeah.
to lose 50 pounds. And that was extreme, It was so now we're coming into like 2022, the rest of 2022. In like May of 2022, I had lost the 50 pounds, and then I went back. So now I'm like, 250-ish. And they're like, "Okay, yeah, we'll start the process with you." I just squeaked by on the height and weight standards, and then so I continued to lose that weight. And then I went to basic training, lost even more weight. Went to OCS, lost even more weight. So the lowest I got was like 235, And then and I've just never looked back since, Now I started getting into like powerlifting and stuff and lifting heavy. So now like I'm really, really strong. I just competed in a powerlifting competition right before Christmas break.
Did you win?
I did not win, unfortunately.
What place did you get?
For all natural competition, the all natural side, yeah, I won. No, there's some monsters out there, So like the guy who won,
Do they allow them to do roids in the?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
They probably are, They
don't
it's like
test for
that's
it?
not it's not something they test for.
Yeah.
Don't ask, don't tell. It's the military way.
Correct.
As long as you're not gay.
Exactly. Well, even in the Navy, that's like totally fine. Encouraged, in fact.
All those submarines.
It's just ships.
60 men go down, 30 couples come up.
Now imagine. Never mind. Remember, once again, all of these opinions are my own and are not a reflection of the DoD. But I'd say that, so the guy who won the competition, right? Some monster from No Slack. He benched 430 pounds and then turned around and deadlifted like 585.
Wow.
So it's just like, okay, all right, come on. But for myself, I did really well. My deadlift was
Did you get your
5.
PR?
Huh?
You get your PR that day?
I hit 3 PRs. All of mine were PRs.
Nice.
So I lifted 505 deadlift, 465 on squat, and then 290 on bench. The bench is kind of shameful, but
Well, we're talking like a difference between probably somebody who's been doing it the last 10 years
yeah,
as
that's
compared
true.
to somebody who's
I've
been a
doing,
year and a half or whatever.
Yeah, so. And I'm not like I haven't been professionally trained or anything.
Right.
It's just like I'm just an amateur
Right.
lifting by
Watching
myself.
YouTube videos. Right.
Yeah, or just doing what the Army provides.
Yeah.
So like I've come a long way. For me now, like, and going back to what you said about New Year's resolutions being gay and stuff, it's true. And part of it is because it's like, oh, like the new year, new me is like now suddenly like. These next 24 hours, I'm going to magically develop all the discipline that I need to. And it's like, no, like all the motivation. It's like motivation can only get you so far. What's going to carry you the rest of the way is discipline.
Yeah, I think it was Goggins that I heard him have a quote about discipline and motivation. And motivation comes and goes, and will really only carry you like a day, because the first day you're going to wake up sore, and you're not going to have the motivation, and you're not going to want to get out of bed, and none of that is going to help you.
Yeah.
Like motivation ultimately is for the weak.
Yeah.
Like it is a part of that culture that says on Monday I'm going to start.
Yeah. Well, it's the
Right?
instant
Like,
gratification, constant dopamine, constant serotonin culture.
Yeah.
And like that nothing works that way. Nothing in life works that way. Like you have to be consistent. You have to practice.
Right.
It's the small gains
Yeah.
of life. So what I don't like the term resolutions, right? Because
Unless you're 19 and you're Jonathan Edwards.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Intellectual resolutions are different, but I think resolutions are meant to be broken.
Right.
It's like, well, I didn't resolve strongly enough.
Right.
Well, there you go. I think it's better to have goals.
Yeah. Right.
I actually had a conversation.
I think that's
with
what's
my
helped me.
brother-in-law.
Yeah, for sure.
What are my goals? And they
Right.
need to be specific. They can't be vague.
Yeah.
Like my goal is to lift so many pounds. My goal is to run. So, for example, like I'm starting the next phase of my fitness plan that I'm working with my trainer. So the last 6 months we've been heavily emphasizing strength.
Yeah.
So now I have a very, very solid baseline of strength that will carry me through, all the things that I want to do in the Army. Now we need to work on my endurance and my cardio. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on. So my goal for this year, right, is I want to run a sub 14 minute 2 mile. I want to run a sub 38 or 37 minute 5 mile.
Wow.
I want to be able to do at least 10 pull-ups.
Can you do any right now?
I can do like 3.
Nice.
But how much do you weigh?
Like right now, I'm weighing at like between 265, 270.
Yeah, I'm
it's
215 and I do 12 and I'm like dead.
Yeah. So like right now, like I have gained quite a bit of weight back, but a lot of it is pure muscle. Most of it's pure muscle.
Well, with the focus on cardio, you'll drop it.
Yeah, And then the other thing that I want to do is, and this is going to be harder because you can't out exercise a bad diet.
For sure.
So another goal that I have is I want to maintain a cut of between 500 to 1,000 calories.
Yeah.
So for me, my maintenance is like 3,000 to 3,200. So I want to be under 2,500 to 2,100 calories.
Yeah.
I hate tracking calories, but it's so tedious. But I'm going to have to do it for enough time until like I can recognize my portions by eye. So like I've been kind of doing that on and off, but because I've been focusing a lot on strength, a lot of people, especially, a lot of people work out under-fueled. So I've been working with my dietitian and my trainer, and so we've been trying to focus on. So those are my goals, right?
Yeah.
And the ultimate goal is I want to go to Ranger School this year. So that's what I'm training for, and that's my
You'll
preparation.
Say, Hua.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I like what you said about resolutions, that they're made to be broken. But that seems to be kind of the fitness culture to some degree for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm going to get on this diet, and then when I hit this weight, I'm going to go back to eating the same way I ate before, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the issues with all of this, is the goal is not a year from now necessarily, but 15 years from now. Am I going to be healthy? Am I going to be disciplined? Am I going to actually cultivate all the things that I need in order to become what I believe the Lord wants me to become? You know?
Right. And I think that another thing is, like, sustainability has to be a huge factor in whatever plan that you're making to achieve your goal. Because, like, you can do a crash diet of 1,800 calories, 1,200 calories a day, you know. But
and for a time, it's okay.
And for a time, it's okay, right?
Yeah.
And this is what all the fad diets, like keto and all those stuff are. Like, it takes a very special person to do an extreme diet, like a carnivore diet.
Right.
You know, like, I have a friend who's lost like over 100 pounds doing the carnivore diet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's incredible.
Yeah.
He loves it. But you know what? He's decided that he's never going to go back.
Right.
He's going to do carnivore for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, that's awesome for you. I can't do that.
Yeah, I need some bread, bro.
You know, and like, you need carbs. You need carbs. You know, carbs are the fuel of your workouts and your exercise. And so, like, you know, what we've known for a long time, the common sense aspect of nutrition, I think, is undervalued.
Yeah.
It's like, you need a balanced diet,
Yeah,
right? And, you know, cholesterol's not the enemy, right? Carbs aren't the enemy.
Cholesterol's actually good for
You
your
know,
brain.
yeah, like, protein is not the enemy. Like, you need all of these things. You just need them in moderation, right? Which is the difficulty of our modern consumerist culture.
Yeah.
Right? We consume to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And so I think for myself, that involves doing the tedious work, right? Mm-hmm. Tracking my calories, being careful of my portions, right? Like, I'm not a huge sweets guy. You know, I just eat too much.
I love it.
You know,
I love it.
yeah.
I don't
Sweets
like
is my biggest problem.
Yeah.
savory stuff, dude. Like that taco salad thing that we had last night, I ate way too much of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you know, portion control.
Yeah,
that's a huge part of it.
Yeah,
you know, so
for
like
sure.
Meal prepping, having little set containers of, hey, I know exactly what's in this.
Right.
You know, and having the occasional, I don't like to say cheat day, but having the occasional rest day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, hey, like, I'll have some of this or I'll have some of that now and then. Is that's where the sustainability comes in.
Yeah, I think my trainer has been really good. Shout out to Dennis and Elevate Greatness, but has been really good about recognizing, like, if I write him and say, man, you know, my family's going out tonight and, you know, I want to stick to my diet. He's like, no, man, have a cheeseburger or have a hamburger. Don't put cheese on it. You know, be careful with the fats. Try to get a salad instead of fries. But go enjoy your family. And, you know, and he can be rough on me when he needs to be, probably even more rougher than he has been. But, you know, it's one of those things that he recognizes the need for not being too extreme.
Yeah.
Where he gives me that diet, stick to it for a few weeks, and he says, all right, man, go enjoy yourself for the night. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I really appreciate that about him. But through all the dieting that he has me doing, you know, there was, when I first got with him, I'm eating like 1,800 calories a day and super extreme, and I was kind of stalled, and he said, man, you got to eat more. So he put me on it's like 3,300 calories, and I was still losing weight.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, like, this is so contrary to what I had known. And it was probably the same amount of weight I was losing at 1,800. But, like, at the end of the night, I'm starving.
Yeah. You don't feel terrible.
Right.
You know, yeah.
And so he put me on macros and all that. He's got me on some other stuff right now, about 2,100 calories coming off the holidays. And so I put on probably 10 pounds during the holidays, but just in 3 or 4 days of getting back to it, I realized most of it's inflammation, most of it's water. Yeah. And so I've been about back down to where I was. But man, I was, my story is different than yours. I didn't necessarily have this goal of getting in the Army or anything like that. But I remember being in Missouri and realizing I'm really big, not really realizing the extent of it, but also needing some blood work done and making sure that I'm not going to drop dead, because at that point, honestly, I had gotten a little bit scared about where I was at. I realized like I'm in not just bad shape, but I am teetering on, like, I could have been on my 600-pound life.
Yeah.
And one of the things that got to me was my wife is actually watching my 600-pound life, and there's this dude, I forget the guy it was, but he's like 20 pounds heavier than me, because I figured I was in the 500 range, well over 500. And he's sitting on the floor. He goes to get up, and he collapses and goes into a coma for like 3 days.
Oh, wow.
And I forget the exact, if anybody goes to look it up, I forget the exact amount that it was, and I forget exactly how it went. But basically, it struck me. Yeah. So I go and I get the blood work done. Want to figure out whether I'm healthy or not. And step on the scale, of course, is the first thing they do.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it hits 579, bro. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how did I even get here?
Yeah.
Because it was 2011 that I had lost a bunch of weight. I was like, and I had gotten big. So I was at 370, and I had lost almost 100 pounds at that point. And now here I am about 9 years later, and I had gotten to 579. They come back and say, you're pretty much healthy. You're what is it? The glycerides are a little elevated, but you're healthy. You need to start losing weight. They start putting me on the Adipex, I think it was, or something like that. Going through all of those things, I got on that. I dropped like a quick 30, 40 pounds, and then you can only take it for a certain amount of time. And then I got off of it and then gained 30 pounds back.
Yeah.
And yo-yoed like that for a while. But when I was invited to come here to Clarksville, Oak Grove area, that was one of the areas I told Chance, like, I need somebody to hold me accountable in this area. And this is a great sin of my life, is that I'm lazy. And not necessarily lazy overall, but just in the area of diet and exercise. Like, I'll do work, but in that area I'm lazy, and it's a sin in my life. Like, I'm lying to my wife about what I eat. I'm killing my body.
Yeah.
And so they said that they would, and I came here. It was slow going, getting used to everything, and about, I don't know if it was October or so, I start getting on a diet. They're encouraging me, not exercising much.
This is October of 23?
Yeah, 23.
Okay.
And I'm dieting, and then the holidays hit, and like, I'm done, right? I've gone through this before. I put all the weight back on, and I had them in a group chat. I was sharing with them I was losing, but then the holidays hit, and it's probably like February, and I think it's fairly obvious I'm not losing weight still. I'm no longer sitting in the group chat, and actually Ken Glish says, "Hey man, you still working out, or are you still dieting?" And I said, "No, it's been the holidays," and he's like, looks at me the only way Ken Glish can and says, "Hey bro, it's February, the holidays are past."
Yeah.
I was like, a month later, I was in the gym. I had got back on the diet, went and weighed myself. I'd gained almost all the weight back. I think I was at like 549. And let the guys know, like, this, you have to hold me accountable. If you don't see me losing weight, if you don't, like, this has to die now. So got in the gym in March, and between March and now, I was 549 when I started in the gym, and right now I am at about 459. And so, got with the trainer. I had put on Facebook, wondering if anybody wanted to follow my journey. Thought that might be a little extra, accountability.
Yeah.
And so when I did that, I had an old high school friend reach out who I had lost track of. I was friends with him on Facebook, kind of following him through that. But he reached out and he said, man, this is what I do. And Dennis Brown said, I did this in the military. I did fitness and nutrition. I was a combat veteran. I got all my degrees. He said, why don't you just let me train you? And he did it for free. And he said, I'll just use you as marketing. And I'm looking forward to the day that I can actually start paying him for everything he's done for me. And I picked him up in August. And since then, went from like 5'10" to where I am now. Yeah. And, man, I'm looking forward to the future. And it's like I told Chance, I used to be dangerous. I used to be able to hold my own, right around 260, 270 for the greater part of my adult life up until, pretty much I got married and got lazy, started enjoying my wife and went over to China. China was easy. I would never gain weight in China because the food is real. The food is vegetables, rice, and meat. And so that we weren't eating bread a lot. And so I could maintain there. But what would happen is there's a ton of stuff you can't get in China, especially where we were in Lijiang. And so when we come back to the States, we would devour. Like we were on the road preaching and trying to raise some support. And so we would stop like in every small town and
Fast
go
food,
to the cupcake shop
yeah,
or the donut shop, and we would devour it. And I'd put on like 40 pounds in 6 months and then go back to China and lose it. And I did that for 8 years.
Yeah.
But when I came here, I lost all track. Once we left China, I was in a job I hated in the sheriff's office down there, and just really wasn't enjoying it. I liked the people I worked with. I appreciated them. But it was just one of those things that I was probably a little depressed. I was definitely depressed leaving China.
Yeah.
I thought I would be there forever.
Yeah.
And so certainly just lost track. I took a church in Missouri that in hindsight I probably wasn't in a good headspace to take. And ultimately that's what I told him. It's like my weight's out of control. I'm not able to control it, so I need to go get some help.
Yeah.
And so although we went through some really difficult times here in this area, the best decision I ever made was coming here.
Yeah.
And so I'm very thankful that God has given me a new opportunity to become who I believe He wants me to be.
Yeah. And I think that the mental aspect is not always considered fully.
Right.
Like for me, I put on a lot of weight because I was depressed,
Right.
And I never like talked to anyone. I never got therapy or anything.
Yeah, me neither, yeah.
But I knew that like I didn't have a purpose in life that I really, recognized as my own. I was working for my father, and my father is a titan of a man.
Right.
And so he's great, but everyone stands in his mighty shadow.
Right.
And so, because of that, I don't think I was ever able to truly blossom as a man.
Right.
And so that accounted for my depression. And my parents have told me, you need to watch this and be careful about what you eat my whole life.
Right.
So I think it was part of like a form of rebellion as well. It's like, no, I'm going to do whatever I want. But having that purpose of trying to join the army and then, being able to succeed in that and then, like that quote from Xenophon, like seeing the strength of your body and being able to do things that you never thought you could do, I think is a huge aspect. I think another thing is, like it gets overwhelming when you see those numbers on the scale.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you're just like, well, might as well give up now because there's nothing you can do about this.
Yeah.
You know, I think that can be an overwhelming aspect.
Right.
But I think the message that I'm 35, you're 41, you know, like and I think that's the message that, you know, because obesity is a huge problem here in the States.
Oh, it's awful.
It was like 70% of our population's
Absolutely.
obese, something, you know, obscene like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's never too late.
Right.
It's never too late to start.
Yeah.
You know, like I started 3 years ago.
Right.
You know, you started
This year.
You know, and
Pretty much.
between the two of us, we've probably lost over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, and so like it's never too late. You know,
Right. And, you know, one of the big things that's been for me is I think it's just a fact of life. Like, very few people respect anyone who is obese.
Yeah.
When you walk into a room, it says something about you. Immediately you can say, this person is not disciplined.
Yeah.
This person does not care about himself or herself.
Mm-hmm.
This person does not view strength and discipline as something to be had. And honestly, nobody wants to be high-motored people don't want to be around that person.
Yeah.
They do not view them as someone who can help them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think getting into the business world, I've realized that you have to be strong.
Yeah.
And you cannot be obese and make impact in the way that you want to as a man.
Yeah.
And not only just in business, even with your own family. I think this is one of the things that's not talked about. Although, our wives loved us, although our wives honored us and cared about us, your state of health will speak to your family.
Yeah.
And
influence the way they view health.
absolutely. And if you die from health-related diseases in which you didn't care about, specifically from obesity, I think what you're saying is you do not care about us as much as we cared about you to your children and family. And I think that was probably the biggest driving factor in my life as my kids get older. My oldest is 9, is that I do not want them to view me this way.
Yeah.
One of the greatest joys I've had in the last year is, like, I finally put my wedding ring back on. And I turned around to my kids in the car and I said, hey, me and your mom got married again. And, I forgot it in the car right now. I was trying to see it. But, and my daughter, my 9-year-old, looks at me and goes, you got your ring back on, and it was exciting for her.
Yeah.
And it just gave me that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hit on earlier, but the connection between mental health and physical health, I think, is undeniable because, I mean, I was depressed when I was physically unhealthy, and I think it was a vicious cycle, right? I was depressed, and so that fed into my physical issues, and then those physical issues continue to contribute to my mental issues.
Yeah.
And I think the reverse is also true.
Right.
Like, I'm in a better headspace than I have been in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And I know that will continue to improve.
Right.
Right? Because then you achieve your goals.
Right.
Because one of the things that causes depression is the failure to achieve goals. Like, it's a betrayal of yourself.
Right.
But when you are able to do that, you have kept a promise to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. Everything you just said, I think that hits it right on the head. It is how you treat yourself will dictate the way that you move forward in life.
Yeah.
And giving into the depression and giving into the food has never helped me.
Yeah.
It made me feel better in the moment, but just fed the cycle of guilt and depression.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we just talked about this morning because, like, you guys are privy to the school and the situation that went on and how all that just failed. And so the difference between, I think, a lot of men is like when you do fail and you do get obese, or you screw up a business decision, or you lose a business, your church fails, whatever your plan, whatever what's going on. It's not about like being super gifted. It's about discipline. It's about getting back up and doing it again and again and again. So what sets apart a lot of businesses, a lot of churches, a lot of schools, a lot of physical fitness is not motivation of a New Year's resolution. It is absolute discipline. And so the reason why I think like even our cigar company has been potent is because we've been disciplined to go in and say, hey, today we might sell one cigar, but we're going to sell one cigar. And then the next day we might sell 2 cigars.
And not quit. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, don't stop.
Yeah, you might fail, and you will fail. And it's just like, you just get back up. It's like, what is that? I think it's a New Testament. It says the just man falls 7 times but gets up 77 more. You know, it's like you're going to fall, you're going to fail. And it seems like the Christian life and just life in general is a life of constantly failing and getting back up. Failing and getting back up.
Yeah.
And if your family sees you fail and then get back up, they're going to see motivation. And I actually think you're going to disciple your family better in that way too. And you admit your failure. You know, it's like, this is my sin, and I own it, and I'm here because of me. And that's something for me that I've seen develop in all of our leaders here at the church, here at in business, has been when we have failed, people own it. And so, like, if you're morbidly obese, you own it. You get on the treadmill, you start working out, you start dieting, you start doing the things you need to do. When I came here, it's almost 3 years. It's been a while. I was 285 pounds, the biggest I think I've ever been. And just through working and being on my feet and doing things,
Stress.
yeah, that's what it is. I mean, well, the 2 years out in California was not great. California would make anybody stress. And then you have getting here and then getting back down to 235 is where I'm at 220 now. I started really getting back into working out about a month and a half ago. And partially because of you two. You know, it's like you talk about that stuff, and I was like, man, I used to be able to bench press 315 pounds 3 times. Now I could barely I probably couldn't even bench press 2 plates, you know? Yeah. And so it's like, where does that strength go? And as a man, your strength comes between your 30s and 40s. Like that absolute dad.
You hit the peak of like the complete balance between your skill, right, your technique, and your like strength and endurance, like peaks right at like mid 40s.
Yeah.
You know. And you've got, so you still have like you still have enough energy to keep up with the energy of youth.
Yeah.
But you have the maturity and the ability and the competence of adulthood, of manhood, right? To truly make that energy potent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that little Vegeta video that we watched before we came in here. It's like, before this, I was a savage.
Yeah.
I only cared about myself. And then as you get going, it's like your family makes you care about them. So you want to be healthy. You want to be building your body in a way that you can defend. And
so we've heard about my goals, right, for this year. To reiterate, I want to be able to bench 315 eventually. I want to be, I mean, that's kind of a secondary goal, but my main...
finally hit my PR, bro.
Yeah. Shut up. I'm gonna hit, I want to be able to run a sub 14 2 mile.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to run a sub 37 5 mile. And then like, I think like the rucking will come under that. I want to be able to hit like a 12 miler in like under 230. And I think that will come with all of the running as well. And then I want to be able to do 10 to 15 pull-ups.
Close hand or?
Just pull-ups. I don't even care if it's close hand or a wide grip at this point. I just want to be able to do them, you know. Yeah. So those are my goals, specific goals for this year. And then obviously all of that is in preparation for going to Ranger School.
Yeah.
So those are my goals. Ian, what goals do you have?
So because I am still so big, My main goal this year, in 2025, outside of business and everything, just physical fitness, is to be under 300 pounds.
Okay.
So I'm at 155, or I'm 455. And so 155 pounds this year is what I'm going to shoot for.
Awesome.
I hope to be under 400 by summertime. My hope is spring, but I'll give myself some leeway, especially since I took the time during the holidays.
Yeah.
I hope to be under 400 by the end of this year. That's my goal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Chance, I know you've just recently come off of shoulder surgery, so you obviously have...
just injections, but I had a torn rotator cuff. So.
Yeah, so obviously that limits what you are able to do, but do you have any fitness goals for this year?
Well, my goal is to get back to where I can do 100 legitimate push-ups straight, and then rep pull-ups. I want to do about 25 pull-ups. I mean, that's my goal. And then running and stuff like that, I don't really... I'm gifted there, so I can just go out and run a mile, and it doesn't bother me.
You know, I can't wait for the day that you are no longer able to do that.
So
then you have to work for it, like the rest of us.
Yeah, I don't have to work on running at all. It just.
Of course, then there's Tyler, who runs 25 milers for fun.
Yeah, well, he's insane.
Yeah, just getting off the couch.
Yeah,
he doesn't even run on a regular pace.
Yeah.
It's okay. His time will come.
But my goal, like a big goal, I just did it last night. I did 150 jump ropes in a row. My goal by midsummer is probably to be at 1,000, where I can just rep 1,000. What I do for jump roping is, like, if I'm at 70 and I screw up, I start back at 1. And so it's like I want to be perfect on that. And I'm more of a form guy over like brute strength in that. And so in anything that I'm doing, I'm always working on form. And then once my form is like perfected, then I start adding weight. And so like I in my home gym, it's pull-up bar, jump rope, push up, and then I have some side weights to actually use the armor plates that we have, because they're 8.5 pounds.
Yeah.
So I use them for side flies, and I use them for rotation of shoulder to kind of
Really
fix that.
Recuperate. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, to be in the gym, to do bench press, to do all that stuff is probably scary, because that shoulder is still...
Well, yeah, I mean, you shouldn't stress an injury.
at all.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of waiting to have some of that strength.
I mean, you can get a ferocious workout with just body weight, too. So
Yeah, that's all I do.
Yeah.
Sit-ups, pull-ups, push-ups.
Yeah.
Jump rope. Jump rope's probably my favorite. I think it's the best. Like, if you do 1,000 jump ropes and you're 275, you burn like 1,100 calories.
Yeah.
It's a great workout. You're hitting, if you're doing it on your toes, you're hitting your calves as well.
Yeah.
You're building
a lot of functional strength.
Agility, and then you're also building like that immediate explosion. Like you're able to go. That's why boxers do a lot of jump roping is immediate explosion.
Yeah, I got to see a windmill off 2 feet.
Yeah. Well, that's actually another thing that it will really depend on my schedule, because I'm going to be very, very busy until like May. But I'd like to, and the Army offers it too, is combatives. You know, I want to be able to start doing that, and they offer like free classes after work and stuff. So I may take advantage of that. I will take advantage of that and just see like how BJJ I can fit it into. Yeah, I think they do jiu-jitsu, they do Muay Thai, and I think they do wrestling.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I definitely, when I get under 300, I want to start combat training.
Yeah, I mean Royce Gracie is right here in town.
Yeah, I told Chance if I can. Make enough money this year and become, fairly well off. Like, my day will consist of gym in the morning, training in the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could always become an amateur MMA fighter, and maybe you would break people in half.
Can you imagine him getting a hold of like
dude,
a heavyweight that's 250 pounds? He'd kill
Pereira.
Yeah.
Like he was like some like school teacher or something. And
was he really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Or he's like some, I don't know. He was like some completely mundane, like had some mundane career, and then he just decided, one day I'm gonna do MMA, and now he's like a champion.
Yeah,
that
dude's a beast.
Yeah.
I hope to be able to get into that right now. So it might sound funny to some people, but when you're 579 pounds, like you need help getting off the floor. Like you got to use the couch.
Yeah.
And the other night I laid on the floor with my kids, and they all went up to go to bed, and I was going to go put them to bed. And I asked my wife, I said, I wonder if I can get off this floor without anything. And I did it. And I was like, yeah. We're going to get there.
There you go. I mean, the fact that you are able to push yourself up at 550 pounds or whatever,
Right.
it's
455.
yeah, that's incredible.
He's going to be a beast once he gets on like the bench, like at
Man,
heavyweights.
Dennis is getting me right. Man, I'm so thankful for him. If we do well in business this year, I'm going to take care of that guy. He has helped me so much. And, when I was going to the gym in March to August, I was losing weight, but it's aimless.
Yeah.
You have...
You don't know what to do.
Exactly.
Because there's so many options.
Right.
And you don't know what to target.
In, you got bench press, but the movements, you're using machines, or you don't know movements to target. Your tricep has like 3 different sides to it, and the movements make a difference. It's not just, tricep pull downs. And, man, since I've started with him, like, muscles coming on.
Yeah.
And so...
Hey, shout out to my trainer as well, Jay. Hey, thanks for your help as well.
Yeah.
But I mean that's the thing, right? Because I'm an amateur. I have no idea what I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I think that's key as well, right? Don't be afraid to make that investment in getting a trainer,
Right.
and just being like, hey, tell me what to do.
Right.
This is where I'm at. These are my goals. Now, give me the program.
Right.
Because I'll put in the work. I just don't know where to start.
Right.
So if I can, delegate that brain power and that knowledge base to a professional,
Right.
and he's going to be like, this is what you need to do.
Yeah. Because, you can, scroll TikTok, influencers, and all that stuff, but it's not real world.
They're always trying
And
to
it's
sell
also
you
not
something.
customized to you.
Exactly.
know?
And so that's one of
'Cause
the
everyone's
things my
different.
trainer did was he takes into account all of those things,
Yeah.
and body type and, all that. And, I can see, like, obviously I'm still really big, but I can see it taking shape. Like, I look in the mirror
And being
my
able to
chest is getting
see,
big.
yeah, exactly, and being able to see those changes is so encouraging too.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's like an adrenaline. It's a hit of dopamine.
Yeah.
It's like you go down in the squat and then you go back up.
Right.
And it's like, I never thought I could be able to do this.
Yeah.
Right. Or you deadlift and then you just pick up the weight and put it back down, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched Eddie Hall this morning do that 500 kilograms.
Oh, the 1,000 pounds.
yeah.
He deadlifted
Did like
1,000 pounds.
1,106 pounds, something like that. And he's
Yeah.
like, and he was doing an interview, and he's like, and the interviewer asked her, why'd you do it? And he goes, I wanted to push the human body to its physical limits.
Right.
And then he proceeded to say that he got brain damage for got a 4-week concussion.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I mean, you watch him pick it up, and then like
his
he just
nose
like
starts bleeding.
like looks around, and then like his nose starts bleeding.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just like,
crazy.
whoa.
He said he was bleeding out of his eyes, his nose, his ear.
Wow.
And like the human body is amazing. Like God designed it to be used in these ways.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times when Israel got fat and happy, a lot of sin entered into their nation. And I think that's what's happened to America is we've gotten fat and happy.
Yeah.
And a lot of sin has entered into our nation. I mean, like, if you want to go get your porn fix, you can. If you want to go get your simple McDonald's fix and eat 10,000 calories, you can. If you want to, and so it's so instant gratification. But working out's not that way. Like when I first started working out, I was like, I could barely do a pull up. I was just hanging on the bar,
Yeah.
And then you start seeing the moving of like, oh wow, I still could do this. And then you get excited and you're like, I'm gonna push myself to my limits today.
Yeah.
You might hate it the next day, but it's part of it.
Yeah.
I've grown to love the soreness
Yeah.
because it means your body's growing.
Yeah.
Like the military says, embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite quote of all the ones that are there comes from the Marine Corps, which you will never catch me openly praising those crayon eaters, but whatever. The Marine Corps has a saying, is like, pain is weakness leaving the body.
Yeah.
I've always loved that.
Yeah. So
Not that I love anything from the Marine Corps.
you probably like the Navy saying the only easy day was yesterday too. So.
I don't care about the Navy.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's close on this topic. Pastors that are morbidly obese that are not actively trying to fix the issue, are they qualified to be in the pulpit?
Well, let's look at the qualifications of a pastor.
Let's do it. This will probably be the opening segment of what we release on audio. What we're about to say. So,
yeah.
Walk with graciousness, but also with truth.
Yeah. What is it, 2 Timothy?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
A bishop must be blameless.
Second Timothy 2?
Should be.
Yes.
All right. I'm in the ESV, so it's worker. I'm going to change to the approved holy version.
King James Bible.
King James Bible.
The king ain't on it, the king ain't in it.
Wait, what? Okay. Faithful man. All right, so. No, wait, is this the right one? 2 Timothy 2, chapter 2?
Or is it 1 Timothy 2?
Is it 1 Timothy 2?
Look at us, looking like nerds.
I know.
Yeah.
Terrible that we don't know this off the top of our head.
I don't even know what I did yesterday, so,
No, maybe is
It's
we can
First
just.
Tim-
Oh, there we go.
it's
Chapter
First
3,
Timothy.
1 Timothy 3.
Yeah, 3:1.
Overseers, qualifications for overseers, and now back to the KJV. All right, this is a true saying. If a man desire the office, 1 Timothy chapter 3. This is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desires a good work. He must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach, not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous, one that rules his own house, having his children in subjection, not a novice, lest he be lifted up with pride. Good report with those without. Okay, so let's kind of see. I keep going back to the ESV now.
This saying is trustworthy. If anyone aspires to the office of an overseer, his desire is a noble task.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, an overseer must be above reproach. Let's start right there. I mean, I think Ian, you hit that on the nail on the head. Is that when people see you, and you obviously we know you're actively working on losing weight, so there's a difference there. There's there's repentance happening, but the first observation of somebody who's morbidly obese is they're lazy. And
Yeah, I actually think it fits into two categories in the qualifications. I would say it also fits into the category of having a good report to those who are without.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, it's one of the reasons I left my church in Missouri, because I did not believe that I could have a good report to those who are without, and I could not be blameless. I do believe, and in this section, there will be somebody who objects because not all fat people are gluttonous. No, but 99% of them are.
Yeah.
And so, there's some people that have a problem, a gland that's messed up, or something like that. But that's few and far between.
That's the exception to the rule.
Exception to the rule. And so I believe it fits in two categories. And so I would say, unless a man has repented of his obesity and gluttony, that there is no room for him in the pulpit.
Yeah. I mean, I think the next qualifications make that very clear too, right? After it says husband of one wife, then it says sober-minded,
Yeah.
self-controlled.
Right.
And I mean, right there,
Yeah.
if you're not sober-minded and you're not if you're obese, you're not self-controlled,
Right.
right? Because you don't have this area of your life under control.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people have said, right? Joe Rogan and a lot of other people, but probably medical professionals have said as well, sugar is the biggest drug in America.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It is
If
a white
you're-
substance.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
this is one of the reasons, of course, we smoke cigars. We will take a nicotine patch from time to time. This is obviously a drug. But when it is brought up, you shouldn't be doing those things because it destroys the temple. And
Which is
I would
outside of
say
context.
it's out of context, first of all. But if you believe that, then you should not be eating sugar
Yeah.
at all in any case.
Yeah.
Because it absolutely is the number one drug in our society.
Yeah.
It's in everything. It's a part of everything. And it is overly used by everyone
Yeah.
who is not taking account of it.
A lot of our food is engineered in
Yeah.
such a way to be addictive,
Right.
you know? So,
Yeah, so I would say, without a doubt, without repentance and a decision to be disciplined in their life, that it is not admissible to have someone who is obese in the pulpit.
yeah.
And if I ever went back to where I was, I would fully expect the men in my life, specifically my elders, to either call me back to repentance or remove me
Yeah.
from the pulpit.
Yeah.
And I do think that's the difference. That there must be repentance, there must be recognition, and there must be a change that has been made. Ultimately, that's what repentance is. And so if that doesn't happen, or if it happens for a time and there is a movement back to it, that person must be called back to repentance or removed, because I don't believe he fits the qualifications.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what we're going to our next topic. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you want to talk about Christian nationalism.
Do I? I don't know if I
Or do you want
do.
to talk about Islamophobia? We can talk about that.
I really want to focus on, because this is something that hits near and dear to my heart, right? What does it mean to be an American, right?
I just think
we
Toby
know
Keith. I'm proud to be an American.
Well, see, that's the thing, right? We know what being an American is not,
Right.
right? But what does it mean to be an American? Yes, we have all of these things that we and I don't want to get into it now because I want to talk about it in our next podcast. But like, I'm of Asian descent, right? I'm a first generation immigrant.
You're only here because of DEI.
Exactly. You know, I am the product of wokeness. But so my parents, you know, came from Taiwan on a student visa, right? My parents were Christians, faithful, devout Christians. My dad and both my parents went to Bob Jones for the specific purpose of returning to their homeland to continue doing missions, which is what they did, right? To a certain degree. They didn't get all the way back, and there's a long story for that, mainly having to do with like a lot of government restriction in China. But they you know, ended in the Pacific, halfway there, you know. And they had a thriving ministry for many years. They still do, right? They have a school, they have a church. So, you know, I grew up in the United States, grew up in the territories. You know, like my patriotism for this nation that is newly adopted by my family is very strong. It's the entire reason I joined the Army.
Yeah.
You know, like I left. You know, I achieved very high position in my former career of being an educator. You know, and so joining the military, you know, it didn't have a lot of financial incentive. I mean, I won't say there was none. There is, but it wasn't like the main goal.
Right.
You know, the main goal was patriotism.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to give back to this country that had given back to my family. You know, because my family is, we have a long history of fighting communism. We have a long history of struggling against the CCP.
Yeah.
You know, my grandfather was a dedicated communist killer. Fled to Taiwan in 1949 with the Nationalist Army. You know, hated communists. You know, my dad is the same way. Came, you know, before he became a Christian. You know, and so like that's my background, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of what it means to be an American is very near and dear to my heart. This past Christmas weekend, you know, Christmas week, we've had this raging debate on X about the H-1B visa.
Right.
You know, and then you have all these people that are from the Indian subcontinent who are like gloating on social media about how we're going to replace everyone. You know, we're going to replace American culture, and it's like, and then Vivek it goes on social media and says, it's like 80 hours a week, and we're going to do all these math camps, and it's like, okay, that doesn't really resonate, right? That's not like the Christian culture. That's the let me backtrack. I don't mean Christian. I mean American culture, right? That won 2 world wars, that built the modern age, right? But what does it mean to be an American?
Yeah.
Because the big struggle right now is, and see, I'm already getting into it, and we need to save it for the next podcast. But I'll just leave it for us to ponder and maybe do a little bit of reading for the next time.
Yeah, I would like to read up on it.
Is America just an idea?
You're talking
Or
about
is
like
it
what J.D. Vance said in his speech.
Well, right, but that's even before J.D. Vance said that, I've already seen this idea. I've talked. There's a popular. I say popular, but there's an account on X that I follow and I've actually interacted with. His name is Lafayette Lee, and he's the editor of a magazine. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's like I Am 1777 or something like that. They've got some fantastic articles, but he and I went back and forth a little bit, and I told him my background, and I was like I get what you're saying, right? That America's not just an idea. Because if America was just an idea, well, why can't these Americans trying to come here be Americans over there?
Right.
Right? Because if it's just an idea, it can happen anywhere.
Right.
But clearly it's not.
Yeah.
Right? So what is special and specific about this geographical location? These particular people with these particular cultural norms and languages and religions. Right? There's something about it. It's... I used to hold to the idea that America is just an ideal.
Right.
Is it just an idea? Right? Anyone who comes can be an American.
Right.
I think that's been hijacked.
Yeah.
It's been abused. It's clearly not true. You're looking at this. Today is what? January 1st of 2025. And in the news, what has just happened, right? We've had 2 terrorist attacks. One of them was from a U.S. Army Reserve individual who converted to Islam.
Right.
Right? He's an American citizen,
Right.
right? But he's from Texas. He clearly is not American,
Right.
even though he technically was, right? So that's the question I think we need to discuss and break down and analyze.
Yeah.
Is America just an idea? And if it is not just an idea, then what is it?
Right.
And what is that it? What are the specifics? What do you need to believe? What do you need to be an American?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it next time.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Thanks for joining the Third Space podcast. We will come back at you with some hot takes from the Cigar Lounge here in Clarksville, Tennessee.